Hey, what's up guys, mine's Runefire Storm, and let me preface this video by saying this will be a part 1 of 2 for this particular tutorial. Because they both cover different topics, each part covers different topics. This one's going to be covering the evented system I did in my first Let's Make It, and the other video will be covering the general actual battle system in my second Let's Make It. So if you want to watch that video, you'll either have to wait or go to the other video right now. With that said, we can begin. Today we'll be covering 100% Orange Juice's battle mechanics, particularly attack, defend, and evade. At base value, it might not seem complicated, but it is going to involve a lot of RNG, so, well, I'll be covering that as the tutorial goes along. Also, apologies if you hear any sniffles, because I did just have allergies. Alright, let's do this. Alright, we're going to be starting off with the plugins, except there are no plugins, so we're going to skip straight to the variables and switches. Now, there are quite a few variables. Well, I should probably explain some of them. There are, I think, 6 variables. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Each of these has their own purpose. The first 2 will be determining the HP stat of our 2 characters. Our third will be our RNG variable. Our 4th and 5th are determining the values we'll be using for calculations and stuff. And the last, well, that one takes a lot more explaining, and I'll be doing that when it comes to it. I also have 1 switch. Technically there are 3 switches, but 2 of them are just for demonstration purposes, which is damage equals yeah probably, which is another thing I'm going to explain later down the line. Well, I think we can start on, well, whatever I'm going to talk about first. I was going to talk about something first, but I guess I should probably explain the battle system. In 100% Orange Juice, there are usually 4 players on a single map. It's kind of like Mario Party. If a character walks into another character on the board, they can initiate combat, and a battle will ensue. The initiating player will start off with an attack, and the second player will defend or evade. Afterwards, the roles are reversed, as long as no one's dead from that combat. The second player will be attacking, and the first player will be defending or evading. Defending and evading is usually by choice, but sometimes you're forced to, depending on certain things that happen in the game. In this case, we're recreating, at least, well, in our battle, the battle will continue until one side has fallen, so do keep that in mind. Besides that, basically, the stats for attack, defense, and evade are calculated based on a character's particular stats, added to a dice roll. So if a player has 0 attack, 0 defense, and 0 evade, and they roll a 5, their attack will be, their total attack value will be 5, and then the second player will be able to analyze that particular value and choose defend or evade to accommodate for it. Defending reduces the amount of damage taken, but you always take 1 damage, and, well, yeah, you always take 1 damage. But evading, if the total evasion value of the defending player exceeds the attack value of the attacking player, that defending player will be able to evade the attack. However, if it doesn't exceed it, like it has to be greater than it, then they will take full damage, and that is usually quite devastating. But so essentially, it's pretty much luck-based. Anyways, with that said, I think we can actually start the tutorial now. Alright, so we're going to be talking about attack here. Attack is actually pretty short compared to defense and evade, but I'll be covering those 2 together because they are quite similar. Basically, well, I explained that in the last segment. Both characters, the player and this supposed computer AI, will have 5 HP and will have 0 attack, defense, and evasion. I just wanted to get that out there because that is kind of important. Anyways, we'll start off with the player 1 initiating attack. We'll be having a text spot that says preparing to roll, and we'll be rolling a dice, or die, to accommodate for that. Setting a random variable between 1 and 6, and then we'll be setting the variable for total attack to equal to 0, because that is our player's attack value, which is kind of sad, but it's actually better than you think. 100% orange juice, because some of them have less than 0 attack. We'll be adding that to the dice value, or at least, no. We'll be adding dice value to the variable of total attack, not the other way around. And we'll be having a text box to show the attack value. Beyond that, everything else is the AI talking, but I'll probably explain that right now, which is basically, we're making it so the AI checks the attack value, and if it's 4 or greater, they'll be trying to defend. If it's 3 or less, they'll be trying to evade. However, if they have 1 HP, they're gonna try to evade anyways, because defending, there's no point in defending because you always take 1 damage. So they'll be trying, so there's no point in that, so they'll be evading. Which is actually how it works in the actual game. Yeah, this is a short segment, but I can promise that the next segment is not going to be short. So let's get on with it. Alright, let's go over evasion. I'll be separating these two into separate segments, I guess, because they are going to take a long time to talk about. Evasion, of course, as I mentioned earlier, since the computer will be evading well, not regardless, if either player 2's HP, aka the computer, is equal to 1, or if the total attack is less than or equal to 3, we don't have to cover both of them because they are essentially the same thing. So we'll be going to this second segment by itself. We'll be controlling the variable for evade or defend to equal to 1, which will come to play with a common event we'll be using later. Which, I don't think we need to use a common event, but since we're calling upon it many times, I guess we're using a common event. We'll be having a text box here saying prepare to roll, just like earlier with the attack, but instead we're using this for the computer's evasion. Now this is going to be pretty much the same thing because, again, the stat is 0, and the dice total. If the total defense or evasion value after the dice roll, however, is less than or equal to 0, we'll be setting that to 1 because because in the original game, it did that too, and mostly because it is more benevolent. It's more friendly to people with negative values. So we'll be setting that to 1 if it happens to get below 0, or equal to 0. We'll be showing off the current evasion value. From there, we'll be going on to the common event, evade or defend. This particular common event will be determining what happens with we'll be checking what the attack value and the evasion value. We'll be comparing the two values. If it happens to be greater or equal to the evasion value, then, well, they're gonna take some damage. So we're gonna be turning on the switch, damage equals, yeah, probably. Otherwise, we'll be turning it off. Which doesn't really need to happen because I think I turn it off anyways, but, you know, it doesn't hurt. Going back to our previous event, and scrolling all the way down, again, because that's what we do. Here. If damage, yeah, equals yeah probably is off, we'll be setting the variable for total attack to equal 0. So we'll be using the total attack variable as not only an attack calculation, but also the damage calculation, just overall damage calculation. If it's 0, obviously the defender won't take any damage, which means that, well, again, they won't take any damage. But if this switch is turned on, then they'll be taking full straight up damage, so we don't need to change the variable total attack at all. Going back to, we'll be turning off the switch damage equals yeah probably to off, which, as I said earlier, I didn't have to do it, but I did anyways. And then we'll be controlling the variable of player 2's HP to subtract by total attack. Going down all the way down here, which is where player 1 will be defending or evading. I'm gonna skim through some stuff here. For example, when player 2's initiating attack, nothing really changes. It's basically the same as what they do for defending and evading, because since they're not really controlled by anyone, it just does it for them. Then again, I guess you're not really controlling attack either. We'll be showing off the we're going to be showing off the total attack value, which will be whatever. And then the player will be able to evade or defend, depending on what they want to choose. And then here we'll have the evade section, which is primarily the same as the computers. We'll be adding dice. Well, we'll be setting a dice between 1 and 6, adding that to the total defense evade, which is always going to be 0, adding the dice value. If it's less than 0 or less than or equal 0, we'll be setting it to 1. And basically the same thing happens, but the only difference is that player 1 will be taking damage to player 2. So that is something to keep in mind. Player 1 is taking damage and not player 2 again. Besides that, I think we can go on to defend, which is a little bit complicated, but I think we can deal with it. Alright, now that we've gone over evasion, defending will be much easier to explain because, well, you basically, kind of, hopefully, learned all you need to know about evasion if I explained it properly and hopefully didn't confuse anyone. I think someone's going to be confused. Someone's definitely going to be confused. I apologize for that. Going all the way to the defend conditional, which is when the total attack is greater or equal to 4. We'll be setting the control, well, we'll be controlling the variable evade or defend to equal 2. Having the same text box, this is exactly the same as earlier. Nothing really changes because it's a computer. Again, same thing here, conditional branch less than or equal to 0, total defense or evade will be equal to 1. And then showing off the defend value, and we'll be going on to the common events. We are speeding through things quite quickly because it is essentially very similar. However, this part won't exactly be very similar. Instead of greater or equal, we'll be checking if the total attack is greater than, straight up, is greater than the total defense or evasion of the defender. If it is, then the total attack will subtract by the total defense or evade stat. Otherwise, if it isn't, we'll be setting the total attack to equal 1. As I said earlier, the total attack will be used as the damage variable as well, so we just set it to 1 here. Going back to the event once more, going all the way back down here. Then we'll be having a little text box saying the defender has dealt however much damage, and we're controlling the variable of player 2 subtracted by the total attack. And as you may have guessed, this is basically the same thing as for player 1 as well, which is right here. Setting evade or defend to equal 2, preparing to roll, doing this variable shenanigans, conditional branch, if it's less than 0, set to 1. I am repeating a lot of stuff, but anyways, same thing here. We set to player 1 instead of player 2, because player 2 taking damage would not make sense. Alright, now that that's out of the way, we do gotta do a little bit of finishing touches because, well, there is one inherent problem we still haven't covered. So with that said, see you in the next segment. And that inherent problem is the fact that, well, someone gotta die, you know? Someone gotta lose. Going all the way to after player 1's actions have occurred, we're going into this conditional branch here. If the HP of player 2, the variable, is less than or equal to 0, because it can get less than 0, of course, player 2, well, has been defeated, will appear as a text box. We'll be turning off these switches, but that doesn't really matter, and we'll be exiting event processing. This is important because this is an auto-run event. I probably should have mentioned this is an auto-run event. And otherwise, everything's going to continue as normal, and we don't want that to happen. Otherwise, player 2 will have a little text box saying how much HP they have remaining, which is nice because they'd be still alive, but since they're a computer, wouldn't it be not nice? I guess that wouldn't be nice at all. Going all the way down to the player 1 side, or player 1 defending side, it's essentially the same thing, but we're switching off variables. HP player 1 is less than or equal to 0, player 1 has been defeated, otherwise, player 1 has blank HP remaining. Besides that, yeah, not much else. So with that said, we can go to demonstration. Again, I apologize if I didn't explain that too well. after a little mishap with a little problem, you may have noticed it during the tutorial, but I set player 2's HP to 1. I think that's for testing at the end of my Let's Make It from a long time ago. But I set it to 5 now, so we can actually interact with this Ember here, so we can start our battle and, of course, the demonstration. And yeah, that's us, player 1, preparing to roll. And our attack value is 4. Now, if our AI is correct, it's probably going to defend. You know what? They did defend, and they defended successfully because they only took 1 damage. So they're going to try to roll here, and their attack value is 1. We have good odds here, so we can try to evade. Unfortunately, we happen to roll a 1 and evade, which means we take 1 damage. Oof. Yikes, this is not looking good. Ooh, we rolled a 6. Now they're gonna try to do whatever. They defended with a 4, which means they take 2 damage. There it is. They have 2 HP remaining. 3. Evading would be risky here, but I don't like my odds. We're gonna try to evade for the heck of it. Oh, nice, 4. Which means we take 0 damage. Now we're gonna roll once more. 2. Gosh dang it. You've gotta be kidding me. Okay, what are you doing now? 3. Let's try to evade again. Ooh, nice. Okay, we're getting very lucky. Alright, our attack value is 4, and the computer was gonna try to defend, and they take 1 damage. Okay, this is gonna be a long battle. 1 evasion, higher chance. We got the evade, we take 0 damage. 4 HP, let's do this. 2 attack. Ooh, 1 evasion, which means player 2 has been defeated. Oof. And we won the match! Look at that! I like this demonstration. Wait, that's the wrong sentence. I like this system a lot. I like that we've recreated an RPG Maker, honestly. Anyways, with that said, let's go on to the outro. See you there. Alright, I am recording this before the demonstration again because I always do that. Thank you all so much for watching part 1 of 100% Orange Juice's battle mechanics. Now I do have an important thing to say here, and okay, it might not be that important. Basically, the reason why this video took so long to come out was because I've been working on multiple projects, and like, I'm trying to get them all done by a specific deadline in December. Some of them are personal projects, some of them are video projects. For example, one of the video projects, which I can say, is basically I'm going to be trying to do 50 tutorials or at least reach 50 tutorials by the end of December. I do know what they're going to be. They're all going to be basically the same thing, but different. They're going to be sorted into various videos based on what's in them. The 50th one isn't going to be very special, let's just say that. Unless I take some time to do it, then I might make it so it comes out on New Year's, which means it might be a special video, but otherwise I'm not planning to do a special video for tutorial 50. Again, the next 3 are going to be very similar. So with that said, well, part 1 is done. I still gotta record part 2. So with that said, see you guys and stay safe. Bye.